When you live in a small town, everyone knows where you've been and what you have done. I've been trying to leave this old town since I...
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. I'm Zeta.
And I'm Kelly, and you're listening to
Two Sides and the Truth.
Welcome to Season 3.
Oh my gosh, we have missed y'all so much.
So much. I've missed everybody. I've missed myself, you, everybody.
We even got a little longer than we had planned. We're going to catch up on that and tell y'all what's going on. But first, Kelly's going to tell you a little bit about what to expect in our new era.
Okay, so just a layout of what this new era is going to be about. We're keeping some of our sections that obviously we love. We hope you love too. So you'll always be getting a catching up from us, short and sweet. Then we will also be keeping, obviously, topic of the day because we love talking about different topics. And then we have a new segment that's going to be I've Got Some Thoughts. So not a full topic, just a passing like, hey, I was thinking about this. What do you think? That kind of thing. Then we also going to officially have the segment of text from Zeta because they're one of my favorite things and I never know what to expect. I literally only get a title and I'm just, okay, tell me the story. So anything we don't cover, that's going to be text from Zeta. And then we also have a bonus social media portion of the podcast. So what was recorded during that will be recorded for our social media. We can also share the audio to that if y'all would like to do it, but that's going to be our social media. And that is called Prop and Pose. So that's the social media thing. So that is the rundown. That's what you're going to expect.
Have we talked about the Prop and Pose?
No, that was a surprise.
I didn't even know about Prop and Pose, but okay, I like it.
That was my surprise to you today.
Okay, yay. Surprise for everybody, including me.
I love it.
And we're not doing every episode with all of those. It's just that you'll see those on episodes, so it might change up a little bit from week to week a little bit. But on the first episode of this new season, it will be on that one.
You're going to get a taste of everything.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
A little smorgasbord for you.
Yeah. And I guess, are we going to go into catching up?
We're going to go right into catching up.
So part of the reason we take off September and part of October is because I am very busy. Kelly is typically very busy.
Yeah, I have to have a mental health month, and September is my month.
I just always have a lot of crazy things going on. And it's not anything like, I don't have a kid playing sports, any of that.
Yeah.
I just have weird shit happen. So this run, it was my dad got his leg amputated.
Oh, my God.
I know, right. And he had a little accident last year and broke his foot, and he's 75, and it just never would heal. And it's been a year, and it just hasn't healed, and it got infected, so they had to remove one of his legs.
Yeah.
So I've been, checking on my dad, making sure he's okay.
Being a good daughter.
Trying to be, a good daughter. Not as much as I should, though. I'll be honest. It's a trek to get to his house from here. It's an hour to an hour and a half. Hour without traffic.
Yeah.
There's always traffic.
That's out of my 30-minute bubble.
Right. I have to drive all the way through Dallas to north, and it's just horrible. And but, I've been trying to do what I've been trying to do to check on him, whatever the case is. And I waited to tell this until, I could, I guess. But his girlfriend of like 6 years broke up with him the day after his leg was amputated.
Break my heart.
And literally flew in from out of town. She lives with him, but she'd been out of town. Flew in from out of town. Day after his leg was amputated, breaks up with him. I'm not gonna say he's a little not at fault. Okay, I'm not in their relationship, but the timing is really difficult.
Yeah. Didn't read the room there, did you?
Because now she's leaving in about a week, and we have no one to care for our dad, and he has one leg.
That's not good.
So we're trying to figure out what to do, how to handle the situation, and such. And so that is where I have been and what I have been doing. Not that I haven't also done some fun things.
Yes.
And so
you got to live your life. If you got it going down, you got to make the good come to you.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you can do.
Yeah.
And so I can't say, just family things. So it's, I like fall, y'all.
No. What?
I know, it's shocking. It's part of my heritage. We really like pumpkins and orange
She
things.
is rooted in white girl.
I am so white girl, and so I do have a ton of pumpkins on my front porch. It's an annual thing, and I do decorate and all that good stuff. And I'm not even such a Halloween person. Like most people that I know that love fall actually love Halloween.
Yeah.
I love fall.
Yeah.
And honestly, I like pumpkin food, but like I'm not a pumpkin frappuccino girl. I'm just. I just like fall. I like the season. I like everything about it. So, trying to make memories with these kids. I did pumpkin painting and carving, and these kids as in my grown children.
Yeah.
And you would think that they would be sick of it. They are not sick of it.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay, so another little thing that I have been doing. For one thing, I've not been to San Saba.
I know. Me neither.
It's so weird.
I got a Jonesin.
Yeah, I normally go to the cabin. For new listeners, my family has a cabin out in the hill country of Texas, central Texas, on the Colorado River. And we go out there and, stay at the cabin. And, my girls' weekends are that weekend, or I, bring Rick, or I bring the kids, or whatever the case is. And the last time that I went was July, and that was that time I talked about, before, with my cousin's funeral and all that kind of stuff. And it was just a lot. It was a lot. And I have not been back since then. So instead I've been focusing on being here or being with my dad and staying put, which is not the best content, I will tell you. The other thing that I've had going on, and, I'm not going to go too much in depth with this, but I kind of have to say something because people have noticed that I do not talk about one of my kids quite as much as I usually do, and that is my daughter Zaylee. And that is because Zaylee moved out. And Zaylee moving out, she's 19, and she got a boyfriend and moved in with her boyfriend. And
Young love.
Mom wasn't so happy about it.
Yeah, my mom wasn't happy when I did that either.
I don't know how this is going to work out, but, it is her life, and she's, going to make her own, decisions and possibly mistakes, possibly not. I mean, let's just wish for the best. And so Mom wasn't so happy about that, so Mom wasn't discussing her as much because it was definitely going to be a little angry.
Yeah.
We're past the angry part. Now we're working
going through the
it.
steps. The steps.
Yes, she's learning a lot of lessons that I warned her she would learn. Mm-hmm. And so we're just working through this new era of our relationship. Yes. And so I wasn't talking about her as much. And I've had a lot of people ask why. And because I do talk about it. She's such a big part of my life.
She very much is.
But she now lives, when she first moved out, she moved out in May. And when she first moved out, she actually was living, 10 miles away from me, which is pretty far. And, for someone that doesn't have a car to come see me, plus we weren't really talking much.
Yeah.
And then she moved in with her dad for a little bit, who lives 30 minutes from here. And that didn't work out. And so now her and her boyfriend are living with somebody else, literally right down the block from me. Like the street on the side of my house connects to her street, just right down the block. And so now we see her all the time. She's here all the time. She's ready for dinner. She gets hungry because they don't have a lot of money. So I do see her a lot more, and we're just kind of figuring out this like new phase in our relationship. And with that, Zoel's gotten a lot more attention because Zaylee is a big attention person. Yeah. And so I've been trying to make it, Zoel's a senior this year, my youngest child. And so I'm just trying to make it the year of Zoel and give him a really good senior year. So I've been focusing on him.
I think that's so awesome.
And so that's kind of all that's really been going on. It's not too exciting for being off 6 weeks, but I kind of like the fact that it wasn't too exciting.
Yeah. It was a good chill.
Yeah.
And recoup.
And I kind of, we'll talk about it more in the topic, but I kind of got burned out. Yeah. And I needed to kind of regroup. So that's kind of the new era conversation, which we're going to talk more about. So that's that's a quick catching up. What you got?
That's probably the quickest catching up I think you've ever done. And
for 6 weeks.
She's cutting herself short here, guys. She's like doing me a favor. She's going to let me talk.
I've done a lot. Don't get me wrong. We have
done a lot.
Yeah, I guess we could talk about the shop and all that kind of stuff, but I figured that was more your catching up than mine.
We're getting into it.
So go.
All right, so my catching up. I do actually have a pretty big catching up to share with everybody, and I've decided I'm just going to go ahead and do it.
The roles are reversed.
So my biggest thing that has changed here recently with me is what I am doing with my life. It always changes, though. But right now, I really am in a new era of figuring out what my next step is, what I want to do, and in terms of my employment, my job. So I've worked with the Boys and Girls Club since I was probably 17 years old. I started as a club kid. I started volunteering my time. I was trained. I was employed. That was literally my first job. And I decided, this is amazing. This is exactly what I want to do with my life. I love working with kids. And so I have done that literally since then. I've always worked with the Boys and Girls Club in some form or fashion, been associated with them. I hope I continue to be. But they are dissolving their relationship with the Salvation Army. And that is where I work at this. It's out of the Salvation Army, and the Boys and Girls Club is housed inside there. They are no longer going to be a Boys and Girls Club. They will still have the youth club for the Salvation Army, but the Boys and Girls Club is not going to be there. So I want to work for the Boys and Girls Club. I love the Salvation Army, and I've had some wonderful years there, but I am going to follow the Boys and Girls Club. And so I might start going to another club. I might look at transferring. I might not. And I decided, what do I want to do? What do I want to do with my life? What direction do I want to go in? And I've decided that even though the Boys and Girls Club is my passion, I absolutely love it. And every day I wake up and I love doing what I do. But just because something is your passion does not mean that that has to be your everything. That doesn't have to be what you do all of the time, the only thing you do, your only passion.
Well, you can always reinvent your passion.
Yes.
You can make a new passion.
And so I've decided that I wanted to take this time to explore other things that I have always been interested in doing. But I hadn't had the opportunity because I was fully dedicated to the Boys and Girls Club.
Right.
I didn't have the open schedule time.
Right.
So I have that now. So when we first started our break from the seasons, we were put into contact, Zeta put me into contact with a wonderful lady, and her name is Sherry. I've heard her.
She goes by both. It's confusing. It's confusing.
Like, hey, girl. No.
We like both names. I'm going to start calling her Sharoni.
I love that. It's got a ring to it.
Yeah, you know.
So she is opening a vintage shop in Waxahachie. She has opened it now, Atomic Vintage. But at the time, she was about to open it. Me and Zeta took a day. We went up there and we hung out with her.
I literally just messaged her when I saw she was going to open it, and this is so silly, and I just whatever. But I used to be in merchandising, and I really enjoyed it, and I don't get to do stuff like that anymore, and I just like doing creative things. So I messaged her. I was like, "Girl, I will come help you merchandise for free. Like, you do not have to pay me.
Let me do it, please."
I enjoy doing this." And she was like, "Come on and help." I said, "I'm bringing Kelly." Right, go ahead, continue. Sorry.
And so it was so much fun. That day was so much fun. And her shop is amazing. She has so much stuff that she has just curated over her entire life, and it is amazing.
Yeah. And she has this really cool, unique things. To me, when I walk in, it's like every house, some small thing from every house I knew as a kid from the 70s and 80s. Like just really random things.
Yeah,
and
amazing.
Hands, lots of hands. That's just a different story. But she really likes hands.
She does. She has a hand fetish.
Yeah, clearly.
But it's okay.
Yeah,
we love people.
But Pac-Man stuff, an old Trapper Keeper, cool vintage clothes.
You can literally be in that
jewelry.
shop for hours and you will still find new things.
Yeah.
Something that you did not see before.
We spent all day there and just kept finding things.
So I am now working, helping her out. She's going to use me on, weekends that she needs off to run the shop. She also put me in contact with this shop that is directly next door to her that is Black Label Vintage. And Melanie owns that shop, and I met Melanie, and she's amazing. And her shop, oh my gosh, it's the most cute. I could live in there. I wish she would let me, but she won't.
It looks like a powder room from the 50s.
It's amazing.
It's beautiful.
And I want to live and die there. So I work for both of their shops now. They both could use me, and
Black Label Vintage, I just want to say, is clothing and shoes and accessories. It's not like random things, but the clothes are like
amazing.
Like 1950s debutante dresses,
yes,
and old wedding dresses. There'll be some 1980s maybe, but this is truly vintage, nice items. Amazing. They're beautiful, beautiful. There was a Neiman Marcus leather coat with a fur trim. I was just dying. Now, women back then used to be much smaller, so there's nothing I could wear in this store. But, It's beautiful. Many women could.
Yes,
and
it's
I highly
beautiful to
recommend.
look at, and it's beautiful. I love seeing people come in there and fall in love with things and try things on. And it's like I live in a Barbie doll shop. And people come in and they put things on and they look amazing and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. It's the thing. When they gave me this opportunity, I was like, this is exactly one of the things that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to work in a little boutique downtown. I wanted to dress up and look cute.
But
and
that's
work
how it
at a
started.
boutique.
You said, I want to work in a little boutique
Yes.
downtown. I said, hang
And
on, I know someone.
It happened. We manifested that shit.
We did.
And so shout out to Sherry and to Melanie at Atomic Vintage and Black Label Vintage, downtown Waxahachie. They're right on Elm Street, across the street from the Bittersweet Bakery and the Smoke Shop. You can't miss them. Come in, it's amazing. They're great shops if you have time to do it.
There's a good chance to see Kelly and possibly me, because her 2 shifts, I have been there for the majority of them unpaid, hanging out with her.
You know, I have the best friends.
We were drinking champagne and working. It was awesome.
It was amazing. So the next thing in my catching up is I'm also probably going to be applying to be a sub, because that's another thing that I've always wanted to do. Wanted to substitute teach. And so I'm going to be applying to substitute teach as well. And so I'm really going to be able to just make my own schedule, do whatever I work when I want. I have more time to work on the podcast as well, which is a plus. I like that as well.
That is true.
So all good things coming forward. I hope so. That
New era.
it sure is.
Hey, Zeta, you know what time it is?
What time is it, Kelly?
It's time to pop the top
On the topic of the day.
day.
So our topic of the day is new era and social battery.
Yes.
It kind of goes together in our case.
Yes, it does.
So it's really the theme of the new, as you can tell, the theme of the new season is new era. And so we really wanted to start this off talking about what made us choose this being our theme.
Yeah.
And so a big part of it was our social batteries, because Kelly and I are both pretty social people.
Yes, we are.
And we keep ourselves pretty busy socially. And sometimes when you do that, your social battery runs out. Yes. And I think we both have run into this.
Yes, I run into it biannually.
You do. I usually don't, but I am tired socially. And maybe it's because I now have a man at home, and that's like I'm socializing when I'm at home.
Yeah, you have a different dynamic, but still social.
Yeah, I mean, not a new man, but you know what I mean. I have a man living in my house.
Got a brand new man. Season 3, new man.
New man, no. Same man, same asshole. But you know, for those of you that are new listeners, I've been in a 12-year relationship, maybe 13 now. We don't really keep track, but 12-ish years relationship. And we just moved in together 2 years ago, and it's an adjustment after not living with someone for 15 years.
Very much is.
Or,
Anytime you start living with somebody new, or start living with somebody when you haven't, there's a lot of learning you got to do.
And I've only lived with my family and my best friend's family in high school that actually had custody for me a year, but not very long, just my senior year. And then my ex-husband. And that's it. I've never lived with anyone else. You know, I had a male roommate, for about 3 months while I waited for my place to be done. And it was a friend of mine growing up. And so we just rented part of his house from him. But that wasn't really a roommate. Like, we didn't live together as roommates. We didn't even really see each other.
Yeah.
So I've never had to adjust to somebody else, particularly a grown person with opinions. So it's changed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when I was married, we grew up together. We were kids kind of when we met. I mean, well, he was 21, but he was a kid. And so I'm not used to, having someone else's feelings to consider on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I was used to it on a weekend basis.
Yeah.
And now it's all the time. And it's a lot for me.
Yeah.
It's taking some adjusting.
You have to mentally prepare yourself for that. And
yes. And so I think my
adjust.
it's affected my social battery, having to please people when I'm at home. And it's, and I don't get alone time anymore.
Yeah. So that's why it's really important to take breaks, and we do that. We want to make sure that we, stay authentic, but get y'all, content and be the best that we can be.
Yes.
And to do that in any form, and whether you're working or in your hobbies or any kind of thing that you're doing in your life, you got to make sure you keep that balance good.
Yeah, and part of it also is when you take on somebody living with you, as I've done, which is my new era, I guess, is that with doing this, you take on their family, you take on their good stuff and their bad stuff and their problems and their family's problems, and they take on yours. And it's just a lot more. It's like there's suddenly a whole nother group of people I have to worry about.
Yep.
And I know that for most people in long-term relationships like that, that's like, oh, whatever, you've been doing this forever. You've been together forever. We did not live like that. And I think it confuses a lot of people. We would spend occasional holidays together. Like if I didn't have my kids, I'd go to his grandma's or whatever. But we didn't intermingle as much as we do now. So part of my new era and what I'm focusing on is what boundaries we need for that, because we need to promote each other more. And I kind of touched on this already, but we needed to make ourselves a focus more and set boundaries for other people to where we're not as worried about other people getting what they're used to, because it's created problems for us. Like we don't get to spend holidays together. We're always considering everybody else's feelings.
Yes.
And we've always put ours on the back burner. Mm-hmm. And now that we're engaged and we're going to marry and we've joined a family in the home and all that, we need to start building our own traditions.
Yep.
and
You
our
got to
own
work
things.
on that foundation, your foundation. 'Cause
Yes.
that's important. You
And
can't
so-
hold anybody else up if you're not standing yourself.
Correct. And, it's really biblical because, I know you don't hear me talk a lot about stuff like that.
Whoa, new era.
Don't expect much more than this conversation. But it really is biblical that when you leave your family home, your parental home, and you start a family and you marry, then that is your family now. And I'm not saying your parents aren't your family. Obviously, your parents are your family.
Yeah.
But your priority and your boundaries should be set to protect
So true.
your family.
You have a brand new mothership.
Yes, exactly. And so we have to figure that out, and we have to figure out what works for us, where we're still fair to other people. Mm-hmm. But we need to make sure we're fair to ourselves first, because we've not done that in 12 years. To the point that we didn't move in together or marry or start that part in our life because we put our children first. We didn't feel like it was a good idea to mix the homes because it'd be really hard on his daughter and my kids. And so we put off for 10 years the next step to put the children first. Mm-hmm. And so now, who else are we going to put first? It's time to put us first. Our children are all grown. And so that's really where my new era is I'm going to put more focus on new traditions, building this family atmosphere that is more inclusive of us and less worried about everybody else's.
Yeah.
The other thing is boundaries on other people in my life. And I don't mean just friends, but I just mean in general my social battery. I really need to start picking and choosing wiser who I focus on.
Yep.
And when, I've touched on it briefly about, over the last few months about how I really have not been having girls' weekends and that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean I don't love all these people, because I do.
Love everybody deeply.
Yeah. The problem is I'm a natural giver. Yep. And when you're a giver, I'm a nurturer. I'm a mom. I want to cook for you. I want to clean. I want to do all the things. It's just my, believe it or not, as rough as I am around the edges, anyone that knows me well knows I'm the mama bear. Yeah. I'm going to take care of you, even if it means I have to knife somebody, okay? But it's exhausting for me. Not the physical aspect of it, but the mental aspect of it, you know? And, I take note to who fulfills my cup back.
Yeah.
And who gives me back the energy I give them. Mm-hmm. And who also makes it more difficult for me. Maybe not on purpose, but they are worried about themselves and their boundaries without worrying about mine so much sometimes, because they know I'm going to take care of them because that's what I do. But it's just gotten to the point, a few too many people have done that a few too many times lately. So I've withdrawn, and the people that continue to encompass me and fill my cup, I will continue to give energy to. But I cannot continually put energy into people or, fill their cup when they don't do it back for me. And so I'm not going to say my circle is getting smaller. It's just getting where I might be spending less energy on part of the circle.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I am.
That's really good.
And you just kind
It's
of
a hard place to be, but it's a very fruitful place.
Yeah, and you know, when you're in a mama bear atmosphere, like, you know, the cabin weekends, and you're in this atmosphere, and you have people come in that don't always get along with each other. It's not even really not getting along. It's more of babysitting. This one, she needs this. And this one, she needs this. Like, she won't sleep there, and she won't eat this, and she won't. Yeah. You've taken all the fun out of it. Like, when you do girl stuff, or you do a weekend with a group of people, it doesn't have to be girls, but with your family even.
Yeah.
You know, everybody has to be able to bend.
Yes, you do. You have to go in there with an open mind and an open heart, and
be flexible.
Be ready to listen, and be ready to have fun, but also if you're not fulfilling anybody's needs when you go to a girl weekend, like you are, you do.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, then there's going to be a lack somewhere, and somebody's going to have to pick up the slack.
Somebody else picks up the slack. And you know what? It always happens to the same people over and over again.
So there's no problem to need help. There's no problem to need love and nurture and tenderness and somebody to pour into you. There's no problem with that. But if you're only receiving and you're not doing anything how can I make this situation better? How can I help be accommodating? How can I make it not so stressful? Like, because I know that this is going to make me uncomfortable, but like, how can I, be willing to I don't like. For a personal person, I don't like to sleep in the same room with a lot of people. And when you go on weekends with women
a lot of people,
that, sometimes you got to bunk up sometimes. Yeah. So, but I am not going to be like, no, I'm not going to. I am just going to let it be known. Well, okay, I'm going to have to put my earplugs in and my little thing over my eyes, and I'm going to just zen out, and you're just going to have to understand that. Whatever you need to do to explain to why maybe it would seem that you were uncomfortable, or maybe you would be a little bit on edge. This is why. So just show me some grace, and we're going to get through it.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are some people that don't have that ability.
No, they don't.
And one time I took Zoe and her friends, when Zoe turned 16, I believe, I took her and her friends to Galveston. And only one of those friends does she actually talk to still on a regular basis. And I have nothing good things to say about that one.
Yeah.
But we go to Galveston, and I take her. I didn't think negatively of the girls, but we go to Galveston, and I take 3 girls and, 3 extra girls and Zoe. Mm-hmm. And we get a hotel. I'm a single mom at this time, very much a single mom. I'm working 2 jobs, if not 3. I'm hustling. And I'm talking one full-time, 60-hour-a-week job plus bartending plus occasionally cleaning houses.
She works hard for her money.
I was busting my ass, plus I had 2 special needs kids. So for me to take these kids on this trip because Zoe wanted to do this for her 16th birthday, it really affects me financially. It's not something we got to do all the time back then. I mean, I definitely have a better financial situation at this point in life, but it was a hard point. And so Zoe wants to take her 3 best friends. I'm like, let's go. We're going to go. And one of them was really her best friend's best friend, but she liked her too. She just didn't ever go to school with her, And
they were doing the buddy system.
Yeah. So I take them to Galveston, and one of the friends wouldn't eat anywhere. She was vegetarian, and everywhere we went, she had a problem with everything. And I wasn't warned ahead of time that this was going to be the case. Yeah. So everywhere she wanted to go,
prepared.
Right, was expensive. And then she would order something, and she would barely eat it. Now, I wasn't paying for all their food. I paid for the rooms. I paid for the gas to get there, but I told them you have to bring your own spending money. And she didn't bring much money. So she ran out of money, day 2. And she's the one that picked all the places. She was the difficult one. I'd be like, what about there? No, I can't eat this. What about there? No, I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do that. And it got to the point that halfway through the trip, she was barely talking to anybody.
Because she was upset.
Because
that need wasn't met.
No, I was meeting it as much as I could.
But if you don't meet it in a way that works out for that person, that's a person who doesn't know how to ask for help and
she didn't want to be in the sun too much. We're in Galveston. Everything was a problem.
She didn't really think this trip through very well.
Yeah, and it wasn't just that. She would pout about it. Yeah. And which would ruin the mood for everybody.
Yep.
And so when we got back from that trip, I told Zoe, I was like, she's never coming again. Don't ever ask me again for her to take a trip. In fact, the only one that can is this one, the one she still talks to. Amaris, bless her heart. Amaris is invited anywhere.
She has passed.
Yeah. Another time, though, I did. This is just a side note. I took Amaris with me to Florida when I took the kids to Florida a year or two later, and Amaris picked up a bunch of tiny not goldfish, jellyfish from the ocean. Was going to take them home and put them in like her thing. I don't know, and spilled jellyfish
These are
all
mine
over my rental van. We had to pick up jellyfish from the floorboard of a. Anyways, you get the idea.
Some people just make good memories. You know what I mean?
She did that. But, the point is one person can affect everybody and it's draining. And, I have special needs kids. I have enough draining and hard things. And
She
I don't
also
mean that in
has
a bad
special
way.
needs friends.
I mean, a few. And so I have to really stop allowing people to take advantage. And I don't think they mean to take advantage.
Sometimes people don't. Sometimes people do.
Now,
but
I think
sometimes people
one
don't.
of them I think does. But I think the rest of them just don't realize how it affects the whole crowd and that somebody has to be mama and make sure, okay, well, then we're going to do this. And okay, you don't want to do that. Then we're not going to do that. And no, you know what we came here for.
Yeah.
So,
you got to be able to read the room.
You got to be able to read the room.
Be flexible.
Yeah. So we've had someone show up before and be very intoxicated. Actually, more than once this has happened. Show up very intoxicated when they got there, which made me uncomfortable with how they got there. And then once they got there, their behavior wasn't exactly cool. But then I can't kick them out because they shouldn't have driven there in the first place. So now I've got to babysit them that whole night, and then I got to ask them to leave the next day. Mm-hmm. Usually I don't have to ask them. They just leave because they know it's hard. I don't hide my feelings real well, and that's a problem, and that ruined the whole mood, and it affected everybody there. So I'm putting up boundaries. We're going to do smaller groups, and at this point, if you don't fill my cup back, you're not if you notice if you're not filling up my cup or you're creating drama, I just can't continue to invite you and hope you get better.
Yeah.
Because history has shown me you don't get better based off the years. So I'm really kind of refocusing on making sure I'm filling the cups that are filling mine at home and in my personal life. And really at work maybe as well.
Yeah. Just all around,
All around.
Batten down the hatches.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's wonderful. New era.
New era.
My new era is obviously I am going to be exploring my new passions. That is my new era. And because I'm a very passionate person, and when I love something, I give it my all. And I'm also a giver. I love to help people. I love to help kids. I love to help people just that are in need. I like to make people feel good. So I love to do things that people enjoy. It's why I love singing so much, because I pretty much only sing whenever somebody asks me to. And I love to sing, though. So if somebody wanting to hear me sing, I'm going to do it. So that's what I do. And now my passions, not that they're changing, but I want to be able to give more time to things that I really enjoy to do, but I cannot spread myself too thin, because then I'm not doing justice to myself in any area of my life.
Right.
So with my social battery, being able to say, I am practicing the art of saying no this coming season, and in my life,
doing
yes,
that.
in my life, because it's okay to prioritize yourself and your time. And a person who is asking you to do something needs to understand that if somebody cannot do that and they're vocalizing and telling you, I simply cannot do that, you need to respect that, and then also, be like, I still love you and appreciate you. Anything that, if there's something we can do at a later time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fill that person's cup, okay? So that's what I'm doing right now. I am exploring things that I want to do for my job, because I am going to be starting a new career. I'm going to start doing a different thing. I still want to work with kids in some form or fashion. But as my career that I'm going forward, I want to start doing something else. I want to explore new things. And
fill your own cup.
Yes. And so working at the shop, I'm very excited to do that. And I'm also very excited to look into, subbing. That's kind of how I want to, because I'll be able to make my own schedule. I'll be able to only work the days that I want to work, but I'll still be able to work with kids. I'll still be able to see the kids that I know, that go into the school system in Ellis County. And so that's just really exciting to me. In my head, that just makes up the perfect picture.
Right.
And I'm really hoping that works out for me, and that I'm able to do all those things, and I look forward to it.
Well, and I would say also on a new era for both of us is that we've decided to step up our podcast game.
Yes,
and to actually interact on some social media. Yeah, it's crazy because I am a social media girl. I mean, you're not, but I am. And I still don't do much of it. And part of it is in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm pushing this down people's throats. Mm-hmm. But so what? I mean, like, if they don't like it, what are they going to do? Not listen?
Yeah.
They're not going to listen if they don't know about it. And, so a new era for us is that we really are focusing on that. And I did have someone today be like, why are you not on TikTok? Like, you're really funny. She's really funny. Y'all are beautiful. Like, get on TikTok. Easier said than done. Yes. And I know I'm a social person, but
that goes right along with our social batteries and our boundaries. Like, we want to do these things. We want to do all the things.
Yeah.
But when we first started the podcast, we told ourselves
we're not overdoing it.
We're going to do what we can do, what we feel comfortable doing, and we're going to give it our all because this is a hobby for us, but it's also our passion. It's something that we have really enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
So I want to keep it that way. I want to stay happy. I want to stay authentic. I want to stay doing all the things that we like to do that seem to be working and grow from there.
Yeah.
But also we can only do so much.
Exactly. And so part of that is you're going to see some changes on the podcast on a few things.
Yes.
I don't want to go too into detail because last time we went too into detail, we didn't do half of it.
we overserved ourselves. Sorry, guys.
Well, it wasn't even just that. Some of the things just didn't work. Yeah. They just didn't flow like we thought they were going to flow, and it just didn't work. Yep. And so, sometimes you just have to admit that didn't work and make a new plan, and that's what we've done. And so, really, with season 3, I think like we've really gotten into the groove now.
Yep.
Although oddly enough, it's suddenly become harder to record. I don't know
okay. It's
why.
just life. It's just this turn of life. This new era also comes with a lot of things that we're having to combat, and we're having to work through, and we're having to figure out where the puzzle pieces fit the best. And so...
Yeah. And one thing that Kelly and I did, which this probably should have been on the catching up part, but it also has to do with this, is that over the last 6 weeks that we've been off and we took our break from the podcast, we hung out a bunch.
Yeah, we did.
And it had gotten to the point we all our free time we would record, and which we have to do and we will do, but we didn't give ourselves friend time enough.
Yeah.
And so the last 6 weeks, we kept saying we were going to record and bank what we recorded. We didn't record anything till like this week.
Yep.
We spent the first 5 weeks just hanging out. And every time we got together to record, instead, we just caught up and just laughed and did whatever we do, And so I just felt like that was, Kelly fills my cup and I hope I fill your cup. Yes. And so we needed to invest in each other and less in the podcast over that 5 weeks. And so that's what we did. We were not trying to make content. We were not trying to make things to catch up about. We were not doing any of those things. We were working on this new era of ourselves and, putting energy where it needs to be. Not that it doesn't need to be in the podcast, but
I'm really excited about this new era.
Yeah, I am too. I can't wait to see what happens next. Hey, Kelly, I got some thoughts.
What are your thoughts?
I've been thinking, what do I need to do to mix people that don't want to be mixed in my life? Like, I've kind of been running into a situation where some people in my life don't want to be mixed with others.
Right.
Sometimes people don't want to be mixed with me.
It's kind of like making a social cocktail, and you have to put the ingredients that go together.
Correct.
Or you're not going to have a very good drink.
No. And you and I are both pretty social people.
Yeah.
And we both have friends that we share, but also friends we don't share. Mm-hmm. But also we have friends from all walks of life.
Yes.
Like, they don't necessarily all have something in common.
That's very true.
But also their personalities can be very different.
Also very true.
And that creates problems. So recently, I had a little thing that you and I went to. We went to a lunch and with a friend of mine, and it was my friend's idea to have lunch. And so she made the guest list because it was her lunch plans.
Yes.
As you know, because you were on the guest list.
I was.
I want to say, though, this is really funny. Kelly, I got the text from the friend. I didn't know the friend had also texted Kelly. I assumed she had because I immediately was like, yeah, Kelly, yeah. And, but I assumed I assumed she wanted me to do it. I don't know why, because typically it's how it works.
Yeah, usually people go to you to get to me.
Yes.
Most of the
because everybody knows your phone is not always where you left
Yeah.
it. And so I just kind of assumed. Well, I was really busy when we text this conversation, and I meant to text you and be like, "Hey, Saturday, 2:00, Campazano's." But I got busy and I forgot. And then every time I remember, I wasn't in a spot to text. I was in the middle of something. So it's like, So then the next day, I guess it was, I was like, "Hey, I meant to mention, this is what's up." And your response was, do you remember? You were like, I got the message. I was just making sure you wanted to go.
Oh, yeah, that's what I said. I was making sure that you were going to go before I said I was going to go.
And I just thought that was really funny. But what made me think that particular thing, that friend of ours that organized it, she doesn't necessarily have a good relationship with one of my other friends right now. And they had a little bit of a tiff falling out, I guess, recently in the last few months.
That happens.
And the other friend blocked her from everything.
Uh-oh, he got serious.
Yeah, and I didn't know she was blocked. She may have told me. My memory, as we know,
Yeah, not the best.
I can't even be like, yeah, you did tell me that, and I forgot. I mean, literally, I don't know. Fuck, I don't know. And so I was like, and so when that friend was like, hey, she blocked me on everything, and I'm a little upset. Like, I really like her. I'm sorry I upset her, and now I can't even, tell her I'm sorry,
yeah.
or, I get that I upset her. I mean, I didn't realize how much I upset her. And I was like, I'm not going to mediate this.
Sorry.
I'm not. I'm just past that stage in life.
I don't get paid enough for this.
I'm sick of mediating my children when they're fighting. I'm not mediating
I can't even
adults.
mediate myself.
And I don't want to be a guilt tripper. And I feel sometimes when you mediate, somebody is made to feel guilty. And I don't want to do that.
It's hard to play the third party.
It is really hard. And so I just haven't even attempted to mediate it. Neither person has asked me to mediate it, thankfully.
That's good.
But I am the one that heard about it from both of them, you know. And nobody was talking shit. It was just kind of, this is what I did, and this is what she did, and this is where we are.
Yeah.
But it leaves me in a situation because
It does.
the one the other day was no big deal because that was one that I didn't facilitate. I wasn't in charge of. But let's be honest, it's normally me.
Yeah.
And so when you have two friends that don't want to be in a room together, I mean, one's got the other blocked.
Yeah.
That means they don't want to spend the weekend.
Yeah.
And so I know if I invite the friend that got blocked, she wouldn't care if the other one came. But I know that the one that did the blocking would care, which means if I invite that friend, this friend's not coming ever.
Yeah.
So that leaves me in a situation where do I have to create events?
Now it's you have to have shared weekends.
Yeah.
I have you this weekend and I have them next week.
Because I love both friends.
I know.
I don't have an allegiance to one. I love both friends, and so then it leaves me in a situation where I'm like, I don't, And it's not this is not my first rodeo with this situation.
No.
It's occurred a number of times.
Well, and that happens when you have so many. When you accumulate a large group of friends,
Yes.
it's kind of
It's
inevitable.
gonna happen.
It is going to happen.
And hopefully, over time, it'll soothe down, and maybe that won't be the case in the
Yeah.
future. But over the years, I've had a falling out or two with a friend or two that I have cut off and not ever wanted to reconvene. I have a falling out with one friend, which I didn't realize was a permanent falling out, but they made that choice, I guess. I mean, they're nice to me. We'll see each other and whatever. It's cool, But we're never going to be friends again. We'll be friendly and we can go to events, but we're not going to hang out with each other.
No. You're not going to put in the effort to have the relationship.
And I don't want to. At this, I don't want to. I wasn't a fan of their behavior. I was the one that was upset with them, quite honestly, and they didn't like that, and they stopped being my friend over it because I stood up for myself.
Yeah.
And that's okay. She had every right to do that. You know what I mean? So this has happened years ago. And so when this happened, suddenly there were events I'm not invited to because she organized the event, or the person that organized the event was closer friends with her for a longer period of time or whatever. And I'm friends with that person too. And so I just kind of put the word out as that friend that I was like, girls, when y'all do stuff, don't feel because they would invite me. in the beginning they would invite me a lot, and they were like, no, y'all are just going to make it. And I was like, no, I want her to have a good time, and she won't come if I'm there.
Yeah.
And she won't. I can have a good time if she's there, but I know she can't. And I'm not here ruin people's good time. I'm not trying to isolate her.
Yeah.
Because I didn't care for how she treated me, because I don't think she's a bad person. I just think she didn't,
Yeah.
I didn't like how she treated me a few times. But I don't think she's a bad person. I don't think low of her, anything like that. It's just maybe not the right person for me to be besties with.
Yeah.
And so I had to make an effort to tell other people, no, I want you to invite her. I want you to do those things. And similarly, I don't know how to say that.
Similarly.
In the same concept, I recently got invited to a family event of somebody in Rick's family, and they were like, they invited me to this event, and I don't go to his family events because, his mom and I don't have a relationship. And I mean, if anyone listens to this podcast, they know this. And I just prefer to stay in my happy place, and there's no reason to put myself in a situation with someone that doesn't care for me. And there's nothing I can do about it. I didn't do anything to facilitate it, so I can't fix it. So why would I continually put myself where I'm not welcome?
Yeah, that's not good for your mental health.
No. And so no big deal. I got my own family. But I do keep getting invited by family members to things. They've now realized I really won't come. It's been years. They understand now. Zeta really, when she meant it, when she said it. But this one family member consistently invites me. And so she invited me recently to something. And, it's a Facebook message of, you're invited.
Yeah.
And I make the same comment on it every time I get an invite. I'm sorry I won't be able to make it, but Rick will probably be there. And happy birthday or happy anniversary or whatever they're celebrating. And so that person immediately, I did the same thing I always do. And that person immediately messaged me and said, hey, I didn't invite her so I could invite you because I really want you to be able to come around. I don't want that. That's her family. It's not my family.
Yeah. It was a nice gesture.
It was a nice gesture.
You don't have to do that.
Not only do you not have to do that, but it puts me in a position where it makes me the bad guy in her eyes, because now I have somehow...
You're just giving fuel to her fire.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's not fair. It's her family. I have a family. Like, I don't need to be there, and I don't wish ill well. I'm like, good, go. They should be able to do those things. So I had to tell her, I was like, please in the future invite her and not me. Or you can continue to invite me if you want to, but I'm going to say no. Right. And I mean, I'll go to things like that are important to Madison. I mean, I will go see, certain people that she won't be there. You know what I mean? But I mean, if it's her family thing, her direct family thing, I believe she deserves to have that and be happy not to see me, I guess. Yeah. I'm not for everybody. And so it's just a weird...
It is. It's a sticky situation.
I know. I mean, have you run into this yourself?
Well, I mean, I've had things like this really my whole life, and because I am, as much as I am an introvert, and I really am, and I am shy, but I am I like people, and people tend to like me, so I make friends and everything like that.
Right.
So I do, and making friends, like being friends with you, opens up a lot of doors I meet a lot of people. I get a lot of friends through you, and sometimes those worlds don't necessarily, mix all that well, because you never really know how different personalities and different people are going to get along. And I can be really good friends with somebody and then be really good friends with people in other groups. And as much as you want everybody to get together and love everybody and everybody just be one big happy family, that doesn't always make it happen. So one way that I avoid is I never plan anything. I just wait to be invited.
That is right. You do not.
And then if I'm invited to something and I decide that I want to go to that thing, and it's usually I will check and see if one of my other friends, like I messaged you, and to see if you were going, and then if I feel comfortable going, or if I just want to go, I'll go. And I don't worry about anybody else that's going to be there, because I'm going for that person that invited me, or I'm going to hang out with my friends. I'm going to have a good time.
I will say, though, you're not very polarizing. Like, everybody likes you unless they don't know you, like they've not spoken to you, or they have a preconceived perception of you. Like, once people meet you, I've never worried, I'm going to take Kelly and they won't like her.
Yeah.
Whereas I know I'm polarizing sometimes. This mouth,
Everybody's
though.
different. Everybody's different.
But typically, when someone doesn't like you, and I've seen people do it.
Yeah.
When I worked at the bar,
typically
and you
it's
would come in there,
it's a one look up. No, I don't like her.
Yes, and typically it's jealousy. Honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, I know you can't say that and won't say that, and maybe I don't believe that. But as an outsider looking in, that's what I see happen. And they're bitches.
Or if it's a girl and she has her man there, a lot of times they are less willing to get into a conversation with me because they don't want me standing right there in front of them.
Right.
They're like, I'd rather you just carry along, go along,
Yeah.
go along your way.
I've witnessed it.
Get out of our eyesight.
Yeah, and you do it.
And I do. I will happily go away.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. And little do they know that you're not there to talk to the guy. You typically like to talk to the woman.
I do not want to talk to guys.
Yeah. Right.
Pretty much all the time. Unless you're legit one of my friends.
Right.
Like you have made it to that friend circle, which is really hard to do. I think I can count on one hand the amount of guy friends that I have.
Yeah.
And they've all met my boyfriend.
Right,
so,
right.
And so if you haven't had a conversation with my boyfriend,
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, you're not going to have a very long conversation with me.
Right,
Other
right.
than just pleasantries.
Yeah. You're kind of like Rick in that respect because we
So
talked
true.
about this the other day because none of my friends really ever talked to Rick and none of them really know Rick. But Rick is very old school and Rick feels like it's inappropriate for him to even be in that situation. I don't care if I'm in the room. And he was like, I'm not hanging out
Yeah.
with women.
Yeah.
Even whenever we, my family started friend requesting him on Facebook, and he doesn't really participate in Facebook. He's on Facebook. He looks at Facebook quite a bit, by the way. At night when he gets in bed, he'll just play with his phone, whatever. But he never comments. He never
That's
interacts.
how Dante is. He doesn't
Yeah.
ever post or do
Yeah.
anything. But
Very,
he'll
if Rick does, it's like a picture of like a deer.
yeah.
Okay. But he's very old school. And so whenever he started getting friend requests, one of my cousins friend requested him. That's a girl. And he was like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And I was like, accept it. It's my cousin. I don't accept women. He goes, other than the initial ones on my Facebook that were like girls that I went to high school
Yeah.
with.
They're
when we
grandfathered
first
in.
joined. Yeah. And he doesn't interact with them. He doesn't like pictures, nothing. He's like, I don't play that. And he goes, and if they attempt to message me, block. He goes, I don't respond. I just block. And he really doesn't get them. He's like, they really don't. No one hits on me. But, that's...
Yeah.
That, so he's just real old school like that. And so it
that's
comes across
definitely how I am.
as more unfriendly than he really is. But he's a staunch believer in that. Like,
Yeah.
there is no...
That's usually how I am. But getting back to the mixing things, that's really one way of how I avoid it is I don't plan things. Very seldom do I plan something where I'm the one inviting people.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons because I do have people that I'm friends with that don't necessarily all marry together very well. And
Right.
so, but when I do, it's just an open blanket
Yeah.
when it comes to me. If I'm like, okay, I want to do this, like for my birthday, anyone and everyone's invited.
Yeah.
And you can bring whoever you want, and we're going to have a good time. I'm not going to tiptoe around, oh, this person doesn't like this person, I'm not going to invite them. I just invite everybody that I'm friends with, that I'm happy with, that I will think will
Right.
come. And you can come, and you cannot come. But if you do come, you're going to be
Well, I found
cordial.
myself just not really doing girls' weekends because I just didn't want to deal with it.
It does get hard trying to orchestrate that
I
many
just
women.
got tired of dealing with it, and not that I don't enjoy my girls' weekends, and obviously I'm continuing to do my girls' weekends, but the way that I've decided to handle the situation is it will always be me that it's about, and I don't mean about the weekend. I mean it's going to be me deciding who the guest list is.
Yeah.
And no more you can bring your friends.
Yeah, they have
And-
to go through a background check.
Basically. And I really don't know that I ever again want more than 4 people. It's too much work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And if one person doesn't ever carry their own weight, it's a lot less obvious when there's 10 girls there.
Yeah.
But when there's 4, you realize the ones that maybe don't need to come back because that's not cool, and
Very true.
yeah. And so I've the last year and a half, I have made middle note every time a situation arrives that is somebody is not pulling their weight, somebody's attitude or behavior is a problem, whatever. And I'm like, this isn't about just the person coming to the cabin. It's also my weekend off, and I shouldn't feel like I'm momming people.
Yes.
And it's me that ends up being the mom because it's my place. It's me.
And you're
I'm
trying
the
to keep the
facilitator.
peace. Yep.
And that's exhausting.
It is.
Now, I want to continue to see my friends. And so what I'll do is, like, you and I have an upcoming weekend planned, and which is the first one I've done in forever. And it's like, okay, Kelly, you do get to pick, but you're not going to pick anyone I don't know. You're not going to bring in random people and be like, this is someone, my third cousin you've never, you know what I mean? And then it's going to be just an intimate group of 3 or 4 of us that don't.
Or 2 of us.
Or 2 of us, yeah. You know what I mean, though?
Yeah, I know.
Kelly and I have not been to the cabin together in how long?
Over a year. Probably a year.
That's fucking insane.
I know.
But I thought about it.
Because it was at least 2 or 3 times a year.
Oh, more than that, yeah. And, but, like, I was going in the summertime, I was in the 2 times a month, maybe once with the girls and once with my family. And I took my family this year a few times, but I just didn't have it in me. I just didn't have it in me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of resigned myself a few months ago when you and I talked about doing one with you and I for the fall. I was like, man, Kelly and I can chill. And,
we can.
And we don't have to worry about what anybody else.
No problems.
No, yeah, you know what I mean? It's just easy going. So I'm sure I'll do another one, and maybe I'll have one with this friend that doesn't want to hang out with this friend, and then another one a few months later with that, which means people only get to go once a year. Mm-hmm. Once you become part of we can't hang out with her.
The big bashes, even though that there were a lot to deal with, they were fun, though.
I'm thinking that could be once every year or 2 years.
It is fun.
It is fun, but it's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
And unfortunately, we have too many people that can't always get along.
I know. But then I get to just sit in the back and just watch.
Well, I don't get to do that.
I know. It's more fun for me than it is for you, definitely. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, okay. So I don't know. I wasn't feeling it this year. And so I think that's what it was about. And it wasn't about that particular one. We had some incidents last year, a few, where somebody came and, wasn't behaving themselves or wasn't treating people right.
Know. One person can totally just throw off.
They screw the whole vibe of the weekend. And that's what the risk you have when more people come.
It's very true.
Come the next event, that person wants to get invited back, and now I've got to have this difficult conversation or not talk to them. I don't know whatever way it goes.
You got to pull out the receipts and be like, look.
And again, that takes away from me enjoying my time.
Yeah.
And so I'm just eliminating that from my life. And so, some people will see less of me. Actually, probably everybody at this point. I mean, I have other stuff going on too. It wasn't just about that. Yeah. But, this little circle thing and the situation with, Rick's family and I not having a relationship. And I'm not saying all of them because that's not true. I mean, it just, But I just try to be respectful of the fact that if someone doesn't like me, I'm not going to go in their space when it's an important time. A holiday or a birthday or whatever. I'm not ruining people's moments, even if they don't like me. That's bad vibes I don't want to put out there.
That's very true.
I don't want, that just seems shitty.
Yeah. And that's why it's important to have plenty of love and support, like, throughout different areas of your life. So you're not just dependent on one outlet to be able to, like, if that was the only people that you had and you could never go to anything, that would suck.
Yeah.
But you have such a full life.
Yeah.
You have so many friends and so many people who celebrate you and that you get to go and celebrate that even if you can't be a part of certain aspects of this part of your life, you are still plenty well taken care of.
Yeah, I have plenty
of
other
aspects.
Of other friends.
So it makes it easier to say, hey, don't worry about inviting me to these things. I'm sorry that I'm not going to be there, but I'm not missing out.
Right.
I'm still taken care of.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah. But, there are people, though, that aren't able to do that.
I know. There's some people who only have, like, 1 or 2 friends.
Yeah.
And then if something happens and you're not
nobody,
then you're like, and that can be hard. I've been in that situation before where I've been like, and it's hard for me because I really don't necessarily push myself out. I'm not I'm going to plan something.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not going to text you and be like, hey, let's hang out. Let's go do this. I just don't do that. And it is a burden for me sometimes when it comes to my social life because it can definitely cut myself off.
Right.
That's why I very much value my friends that do reach out and invite me to things because it helps me to get out there and do the things that are hard for me to do.
Well, I've decided, that this, part of my new parts of life, new eras of life, I have decided that I am going to be very conscious of keeping, not my circle small. I'll always keep a good large friend group, but I'm going to start digesting them in smaller groups.
Yes. Yeah.
And enjoying the time with them with their like friend personalities. I do need to do less joining of different people sometimes. Sometimes people do need, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
it can be healthy. But.
Yeah. And I always, because it puts a guilt on my shoulders when I don't invite somebody that I like.
Yeah.
It overwhelms me. It's too many people.
And it's just not a fun feeling.
No.
That's one of the reasons why I shy away from ever doing and inviting is because I hate having that feeling.
Well, and so that's the friend way that I'm going to approach this. So if I have any friends listening, a lot of my friends don't listen because they hear all this from me in person.
Like, I don't need to hear it a second time.
Yeah. So that's one thing. The other thing that, in my personal life in regards to, is if it's a family member or, Rick's mom or whatever the case is, staying true to not putting myself in situations that I don't need to be in. But I do need to make a change. And part of the change is I feel like Rick and I are getting screwed in the respect that we don't spend a lot of holidays together because I don't go there and I'm uncomfortable there. And I've been real careful about not rocking traditions in his family because I don't want to take from his daughter's traditions because I wouldn't want my kids' traditions changed. Right. And if they didn't want them changed. Now, if they're welcome, great, And so I've been real cautious. Oh, Rick's home. I've been real cautious of that because I don't want to mess that up for people.
Yeah.
But at some point, we're engaged now. We're getting married. We live together now. It is a new era in our relationship, and I need to look at it that way. I maybe need to be less accommodating.
Yeah. You maybe need to start, putting down your own traditions that you're going to have.
Yes. And so I did have this conversation with him and said, we need to make our own traditions. We need to make our own.
That's really good.
Yeah. And one of the new traditions that we have upcoming is that, Madison didn't really have a mom figure. Her mom's around, but her mom's didn't raise her, and, she didn't really have a relationship with her much. Now they're much better than they were. And so she didn't get to do, like, the stuff that I think that's moms typically do, like pumpkin carving and pumpkin paint. I mean, she did a time or two do something, but never like a family. Let's do this at home, whatever. My kids and I do this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So we went and bought a bunch of pumpkins, and this weekend we're going to do a pumpkin contest. And like for Father's Day, we did a painting contest for Rick. We all painted Rick. It was really funny.
Yeah.
So we decided to do the same thing, but with the pumpkin. But again, that's just our new tradition. Now, have my kids and I done it before? Yes, we have. But we've never done it with Madison, and we upped the ante because we got bigger pumpkins, and there's a contest. In the past, we didn't compete. We just had a pumpkin decorating our car.
Yeah.
Every year was a different way we did it, but it was always some kind of pumpkin thing. So that'll be the first of our family tradition.
That's so cool.
With Madison, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I really
good time.
like that.
We got home, this is more of a catching up, but it's not because it has to do with this because, again, we're building new traditions. And so I told her we were going to do this. She was all excited. Let's do it. And so we go to the grocery store, and we're getting all these pumpkins. I had a basket full of pumpkins. My front yard looks like it exploded, as you saw. Those are the pumpkins for the contest. That's why there's so many.
Yeah,
all
I
the
walked
white
up, I
ones.
was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, they multiplied. About 6 massive
White
pumpkins.
girl central right here.
There are even white pumpkins happen because we thought they'd paint better.
Yeah.
So we went and got the pumpkins, and then Zoe's like, I got to get a few things inside. So Zoe's like going to pick out her things. I had to pick up one, a prescription. So we did that. And then by the time we're done, we have bought pumpkin frappuccinos because Madison wanted one. I got eggnog because it was the first eggnog I've seen at the store this season. And Zoe got pumpkin milk because she loves milk, any kind of milk. And then Zoe got like a plushie, and we got some decorations, and we got that, and we got a pumpkin carving kit. And like literally I spent like $200 on like pumpkin shit, okay? So we get back to the house, and we're unloading all the pumpkins and all the milks and all the stuff. And we're just like, what the hell? We're just wasting money. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, we're not wasting money. We are making memories. That is what we're doing. And this is like, this will be a memory like a trip.
Yeah, it's
So
going to
this
be
is
a
really
core
cheap,
memory.
actually.
For sure.
Yes. And he was like, oh. Like
Yeah.
he totally got it. He was like, oh. And Madison was so excited. He was like, oh. And she's 20. She's like, yeah, we're making memories, basically.
I was so excited for y'all.
So then we immediately all break out the milks because we all want our thing. So Madison gets her frappuccino, and Zoe gets her pumpkin milk, and I get my eggnog. And Madison and him are like, we don't like eggnog. And so I pour some. I'm like, yeah, taste it. He tastes it. I put it back down to pour more. He grabs more. He just keeps taking my cups. He loved it. So then Madison tried it. She loved it. They're like, we've never had good eggnog. It's like, now you're welcome to
That can definitely be a
the
game
Pumpkin Club.
changer for sure.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to make this about that, but it is really just about like the fact that we need to make our own core memories, and it's okay to like be a little selfish.
Yep.
And I think that for our relationship, it's time for us to be a little selfish.
I love it.
So we're gonna make some changes.
Yay.
Yay! And on that thing, I don't know that we gave a right answer on what.
It's okay. We don't have to have answers. It's just thoughts.
But it's really I had an idea. I had a thought.
That's what we're doing.
And so that's kind of what's up.
I love it.
Me too.
All right, this week's text from Zeta. So I always have just random text messages from Zeta throughout the week that are just titles, and I know that they are just something that she wants to talk about. I don't ask any questions. I just write them down. These are what they are. Megan and mushrooms.
Okay, this one is a little depressing. I'm sorry, but it's also a feel-good story, and it just kind of came up. My daughters mentioned this the other day, and I was like, I just want to tell this story. And so my daughter Zoe is 27, and when she was in elementary school, a little girl moved to our town, which we lived in Kingwood outside of Houston back then. And this girl her age moved to Kingwood because it's close to MD Anderson, which is a major cancer hospital, and this little girl had cancer. Aww. And I think they were in second grade-ish, second, third, and when she moved there. Excuse me. And so Megan moves there, and before she starts in class, they come into the class, her parents come into the class with the nurse, and they explain what to expect with Megan being sick and how she's going to have hair loss, and she's going to, you're going to tell a difference where sometimes she's going to be more swollen than others, and just about the physical aspects and how it makes her feel and what cancer means in a child. Like they really wanted to help,
Educate and
yes,
bring compassion.
Yes. And so they came in and they told the kids, and then they brought Megan in and introduced her to the kids. Well, they didn't introduce her yet. They came in and told them, and they said, so what we're going to do is we're going to have, I think it was a pizza party, but we're going to have this pizza party or whatever, but we're going to make our own pizzas.
Ooh, my favorite.
Yeah, and so everybody that wants to bring a topping can bring a topping or whatever you want to do, and we're going to make pizzas tomorrow, and you're going to meet Megan, and we're just going to have a fun first day for Megan.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, what great teachers. Kingwood School District, shout out. They really are a good school district. So Zoe says that the next day they go to school, and, some of the kids brought, a bunch of the kids brought a different topping, and here's Megan, and Megan brought mushrooms.
I love mushrooms.
Now, these are like second and third graders.
I did not love mushrooms when I was in second grade.
No. And Zoe did not like mushrooms, and I am sure most of that classroom of kids had never eaten or wanted to eat a mushroom. But Zoe said every single kid in that classroom put mushrooms on their pizza because Megan brought the mushrooms.
That is so wonderful and heart-touching.
Yes. And Zoe said she realized she liked mushrooms after that.
That's awesome.
So she still eats mushrooms, but not only does she still eat mushrooms, but she still thinks of Megan every time she eats mushrooms.
Isn't that just wonderful?
And
I love that.
I know. And unfortunately, we did lose Megan a few years later. She passed away right before they started seventh grade. So I just thought, what a little things like that. Like, just little memories like that and a little thoughtfulness and the kindness in those kids' hearts we as adults could learn from, and we could be kinder, and we could pay attention to details like that. And so I just thought that was such a good story. And I had no idea this happened.
I love it.
She never told me. And so she just told me the other day at 27 years old.
She shared a core memory with you.
She did. And I was like, now I'm going to think of mushrooms every time.
Me too.
Megan, come eat mushrooms. So that was the first one.
I love it. Okay, your next one is sister thinks she's a liar.
Okay, y'all.
Well, my sister is a liar. No,
so I have two biological sisters. Okay, so they're both half sisters, but doesn't make a difference. I think of them as my full sibling. Like, we don't have that weird, you're my half sibling thing.
Same.
But one of them is a half sister on my dad's side, and one of them is a half sister on my mom's side. So we weren't raised all together, and they're both younger than me. They're both in their early 40s. And so India is my sister, that's my dad's. And so my dad has 3 children left, Kyle, India, and I. My brother's passed away. And my dad's been going through all these health problems and the situation with his girlfriend leaving him and all this stuff that's been going on. And so my dad's really funny about not always sharing his medical information with us. Like, my stepmom was the same way. And they will wait till it's really bad to, like, put us in the loop. Or they just will leave out important things because they didn't want to stress us out or whatever the case was. And
sometimes sharing stresses that person out too. So
Yes.
sometimes it's not always, I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to stress you out, or I didn't want you to know, but telling you would have been too hard for me.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
why I kept it from you.
Or sometimes my dad just thought he already told me. It could go either way.
Oh, there's that.
But my dad is also a really good storyteller. That's my mom and my dad both. That's how I am like I am.
Come by it naturally.
Yes, but my dad really likes, I don't know if he likes to exaggerate, or as he gets older,
The fish keeps getting bigger.
yes, the fish keeps getting bigger, okay? Or in his case, the drug deal was more exciting. And so,
I killed 3 people with a toothpick.
right, And so there's sometimes you're like, is he telling the truth? What is he doing? And so lately we've been dealing a lot with him and his girlfriend and all this mess. And like, we're getting one story from her and we're getting a different story from him about what's going on. And then the next time you talk to them, they both have a different story than they both told us the first time. Like, I don't know if they just didn't want to fill us in the first time, or I don't know. And so, we're talking about what are we going to do, trying to figure this situation out. And India's like, so I was talking to Kyle, my little brother. I was talking to Kyle, and I was like, listen, we're going to have to do this. I don't want to tell them that. So let's just tell them this. And Kyle's like, why? Why would you not just tell them? Like, why would you just make up a white lie when you don't need to? Like, why? She was like, I'm just to protect what? No, you're just making up a white lie for no reason. She was like, am I dad? Have I become dad? Am I just a liar? Does just things roll out of my tongue that just to protect other people's feelings, or because I don't want to explain myself, that I'd rather make up a lie? Like, is this an Owens thing? And she had a full emotional situation. When we were done with the conversation, I said, I'm telling this on the podcast because it really, she didn't even realize she was doing it when she said it. She thought she was keeping someone out of. She didn't want to explain it.
Yeah.
She didn't feel like she needed to explain it and whatever. And to her, it was, instead of just not bringing it up, it was like she was already coming up with what she was going to say before she saw the person.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what it was about. She did not even tell me what it was about. And it might have been me she was making up the white lie for. I don't know. And so I was just laughing hysterically. And my mom used to say, she was a good storyteller, and I've said this a million times on the podcast, but she would always say, nobody wants the truth. They want a good story. And I was like, girl, no, they need the truth. Like, I don't want to make up a story that's not true. I promise y'all I never make up a story. Do I remember it 100% correctly? Maybe not. I don't, it is, your memory does what it does. Did my mom lie in a story and I'm passing it off as the truth because of what it was told to me? That's a good possibility. Did my dad lie and yes, good possibility. They were both good storytellers that had no problem indulging.
The lines are really blurred, okay?
But I really do try to stick to the truth because it's just really hard to keep up with anything else.
Amen. That's me. I lie by omission sometimes, but the omission is things that are too personal and they take too much, so I'm not going to explain it to you.
Yes.
And some people, you don't have to tell everybody everything. And you don't have to answer a question if you don't want to. If somebody's asking you a personal question and you don't want to answer it, you do not have to.
No, but if it affects the other person.
I know, but I'm just saying, boundaries.
Yes.
You have to respect yours. They have to respect yours. You have to respect them. When you're going into it, some things you're just not going to tell the truth about, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And so lying by omission is not necessarily a bad thing. Right. You are allowed to do that if you feel like that is what you need to do to protect your health. and your
Yes.
safety, whatever the case may be.
But now there are exceptions because
There's
I'm not
exceptions to
going to
everything.
talk about how this happened recently, but
This isn't a
recently-
topic. This is just a text.
Yeah, but recently I've run into where I had a lying about mission happen to me, and I was like, I should have been included this information. So I
get
want
it,
to put
I get
that
it.
out there. Disclaimer. All right, third one.
Phantom periods.
Fuck menopause is the moral of this one, because let me tell you what's going on. The thing with menopause is, and this is why I keep bringing it up, because it changes from month to month. Every 3 months I got a whole new situation going on, and the current one is that I am in the middle of a week-long phantom period, which means there's no actual period, but I have all these shitty aspects of it without the actual bleeding part. So I'm crazy. I want to stab people. I am emotional. I am having cramps. I am hot. I am cold. I am tired.
All of the things.
All of the things that when you have a really bad, like women are mainly listening to us, when you have a really bad period, like one of those days that you just have to lay down and put a heating pad on your stomach, bad one. And I'm having all those without the period. And so A, you don't want to have sex because you feel like you're on your period, you're bloated, all those things. And B, I know it's still coming, and I'm going to have an actual period, and it's going to suck ass.
The worst is still yet to come.
Yes, and so I'm just dreading it, and
You're
I
in the
don't know when
trenches
it's
right now.
coming. Yes. And I mean, seriously, and then you're not like in the mood because you feel like shit. And like I told Rick this morning, I was like, dude, we're having sex tonight because we're going to make this shit come. I have had enough. We're getting this shit out of me.
Or manifesting
He's like, well,
this
that's
shit.
so romantic, honey. Appreciate
How
it.
could I say no when you word it like
Yeah,
that?
because I've just been miserable. And the other part of that is, this is a fun little fact with menopause, is that when your estrogen is all over the place, it drops low. For some reason, it affects your joints as well. And I'm not just making this up. I've looked into it. It affects, because I couldn't figure out why I felt like I suddenly was a 90-year-old arthritic lady. Like literally, I get out of my truck after driving to work, 20 miles, all highway, takes me 20 minutes. I go to get out of my truck and my feet won't work for a second. Like I go to stand up and I can't stand up straight, and it hurts to walk. I can't like make a good stepping. And it happens to me other times too, all the time. And it's because my joints get stiff instantly. And so when my joints get stiff instantly, I'm just constantly in pain. By the end of the day, like every part of my foot hurts. It's not swollen. It's not from walking. It is just hurts, and it's part of menopause. And apparently, after menopause, it actually gets a little better.
Well,
So it's not like a lifelong thing. It's just right now. And, basically, if you see me and I'm a rabid animal,
mind your business.
yeah, because if you try to approach me, it's like a wild
Approach
animal.
with caution.
Yeah, I will. I can possibly lose my shit on you. And I've caught myself doing it more lately and been like, girl, you're not very pleasant right now, and I am not loving it. And I'm so like an open book that I work with this guy and this girl, and I'll go to work and I'll be like, I have a fucking phantom period right now. I'm in pain. There's no period, but I'm sure my coworker loves it. I'm sure he loves it.
I'm sure they do.
I mean, he's a friend. You know what I mean? We're friends. So he laughs. He's got a
No.
wife. His wife's gone. You know what I mean? Like, he gets it. But I just thought it was really funny. I was just like, okay. So that's the moral of that. Anyone else in perimenopause, I feel you, sister. Fucking feel you.
You're giving me so much to look forward to.
Just rip that shit out before it gets to this point.
And that is this week's text from Zeta.
You're welcome. Okay, so for social media, we're going to do our shout-outs and our messages.
Yeah, what we want to share for this week. So I have a quick shout out. We met a lovely lady named Amanda the other night when we went to dinner, and we were working on podcast stuff. And she heard us talking about our podcast, obviously, because we're very loud. And when I say we, I mean Zeta. And so she asked us about our podcast, and so we were talking to her. And we actually, Zeta was like, this is great. We want to get your potential listeners, point of view on how you feel we should do our, any changes we need to make or doing anything. And so we were going to change our catching up a little bit. And so Zeta was like, do you like to hear about what podcasters say and about their lives, or do you want them to just get into the topic,
And
get
she
into
is
what
a
they're
major
talking?
podcast listener,
Yes,
so she
is.
was the perfect person to ask.
And she said that the podcasts that she gets into and she listens to, she really enjoys getting to know the people. And we only heard good things about people liking what we talk about and getting to know us. And so, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so we were like, thank you so much for your point of view, and as a potential listener and someone who listens to podcasts, to let us know that what we're doing, don't change it if it's working. It's doing good.
And I was a little worried, do we need to do it at the beginning or the end of the show? Because I do wonder if first-time listeners are like, lose interest when they hear they're not invested in us yet.
Yeah, I understand.
So maybe that should be something safe. So we're just trying to figure out little things like that. And if anyone has any input on that, we would love to hear from listeners that have been listening for a long time or that listen to a lot of podcasts, what you think. We're keeping it. Mm-hmm. But where should it be placed? But a lot of times what we find is that what we talk about in the catching up becomes part of the topics. That's probably where we're going to stay. But that's what the conversation was about.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you. And the other one is I woke up actually this morning. The very first thing I saw on Facebook was the sweetest thing. And it was from our listener, Michelle Johnson. And Michelle has messaged us before. And she has also sent me a gift before. And so this was just very sweet. And so it was our 2-year friend on anniversary on social media.
Aww.
Where she joined me on my Facebook, on my personal Facebook. And so she put, because it was on my personal Facebook, it was more towards me because it was the anniversary of our 2-year friendship. And she put, thank you for always making me smile, Zeta. I've always enjoyed your family stories about your mom, the recipes, the rocks you collect in her honor, the art, mementos you talk about that she had, etc. You keep her memory alive with them, and in so many ways it's inspiring. That was one feisty, beautiful lady, and I'm in awe of how much she lived. I'm just very grateful to know you. I feel like we ended up connected in life to certain people for a reason, and whatever the reason, I'm very glad that you ended up in my life, even if it's long distance. Thank you for being a friend. P.S. Plus, whenever I see anything about jackalopes, I think of you and Texas, which is why I had to send you the jackalope statue last Christmas, y'all. It's amazing.
It really is.
In honor of the rabbit that you got attached to, Theodore. She remembered his name. With Zaley's Agricultural Rabbit Show. I know you said Rick couldn't handle the jackalope statue staring at him from the nightstand when you first set it up at home, and that still cracks me up. He's a trip. And that just made my day. It really was just the highlight of my day.
That's so
and
great.
I just thought it was the sweetest thing.
We love you, Michelle.
We really do. That was awesome.
All right, mine is actually a Snapchat message that I had with a listener and a friend now, and she. So I saw her story. She has me on Snapchat, and if you want to add me on Snapchat, it's just my personal one. It's not for the podcast. And I'm Kelly Lady Pearl on Snapchat. And so she had gotten a tattoo, and I commented on her tattoo, her new tattoo, and it looks beautiful. And so she was explaining to me like the meaning behind it and everything. And then she had told me, she's like, how much that she loves us and how we have inspired her to be a better person. And I thought that was so sweet. I don't think that anybody should want to be like me. Not that I think that I'm a pretty good person, but I love that people hear our content and really connect with it and relate to it, and I love that.
Yeah,
so thank you so much.
And take the good from it.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that too. I got one more thing. We didn't write it down, but the other thing was I did have. Oh, that's what I was going to. It was kind of connected to Michelle. Okay, this was a different listener that suggested this. But a different listener had suggested that we do TikToks. Mm-hmm. And one of the TikToks that they requested that I do a series on Marry Me foods. There's Marry Me chicken. Have you ever heard of Marry Me? Okay, so it's supposed to make someone propose to you, Marry Me chicken. Mm-hmm. Not a fan favorite with Rick. I'll be honest with you. It didn't work with Rick. But make him some Cajun catfish and that man ready to get married. And so they suggested that maybe I do a few TikToks showing some recipes, and it doesn't have to be the whole thing or anything like that, but ones that are like true comfort foods and things like that. So I thought maybe Kelly and I could do a few and see how it goes. If it doesn't go great, we won't post them. But that we could do something like that where we occasionally do one for a special occasion, whatever the case is.
That'd be cool.
And that we spend a little time teaching y'all a little bit about, the Southern cooking that I talk about all the time.
It's some good stuff.
Yeah, so it's one more aspect of our social media that I think that we should work on based on listener response.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right, our prop for this week for Prop and Pose, I was gifted this bottle of Landon Winery Chocolate Finale Reserve Red Dessert Wine. My aunt gave me this, and she wanted me to toast myself in Toast Season 3, and
What is it? Chocolate?
I don't know what it
Or
is.
is it red wine?
We're
We don't know.
gonna try it. We're
I'm
gonna let you
scared.
know, and we're gonna take a picture because it's prop. This is our prop, and we're gonna pose with it. So check out our social media to see the picture of us posing with this Landon Winery wine.
And find us on social media on Two Sides and the Truth on Instagram, Two Sides and the Truth on Facebook, or Zeta Owens on Facebook, or Zeta Owens on Instagram, Z Mamacita.
And I am Kelly Lady Pearl on Instagram. I run our Instagram, which is Two Sides and the Truth. Zeta runs the Facebook.
I
So
apologize.
I don't have a Facebook, but she does that. We're like tag team social media. That's what we got. So here we go.
Well, that's all for today. Thank you for joining us. Maybe come back next week and bring a friend.
Yeah. And remember, there's always 3 sides to every story.
Two Sides and the Truth.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.